Good morning, everybody. Tim here. I got a story I need to tell you, and I honestly don't know why. I have no idea why. I don't know why I'm posting this, but it's one of those things that I feel like that I'm supposed to do. So, if this helps you in any way, I am thankful. If it doesn't, just take it at face value. Many of you know, I've posted in other videos, but many of you know that I have a history in EMS, emergency medicine. I was an EMT, and for many, many years I was a paramedic, both in hospital and pre-hospital. Pre-hospital being out in the field in an ambulance. And for 2 years, I worked at Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville. Vandy is a level 1 trauma center. Anything that the outlying hospitals cannot handle, don't have the capacity to deal with, winds up going to Vanderbilt. Hence the level 1 designation. My job with Vanderbilt, I worked the adult trauma center in the ER, and I worked pediatric emergency. Well, the particular night I'm about to tell you about, I was in the adult trauma center. I was on the trauma team for that night. Anytime something really bad was going to come in, they would call what's known as a trauma alert, and that activated numerous services. The ER at Vanderbilt is kind of sort of like its own little micro hospital within a hospital. In other words, it has sole access to a lot of services that they don't have to share with the rest of the hospital. Things like x-ray, CT, things of that nature. We get a trauma alert one night, and it is a 35-year-old female that has been shot at point-blank range with a handgun of unknown caliber at this time. Shot her right there, right between the eyes. The shooter was her 5-year-old son. 9 times out of 10, a gunshot wound to the head is typically fatal. Just very few scenarios in which that comes out favorably. So the trauma team is ready. We're prepared to receive this patient. And honestly, we're all expecting a DOA, dead on arrival patient. Ambulance pulls in, they unload the patient, and the patient is surprisingly still alive. So we get busy. We get this lady in the trauma room. She has an entry wound right here. Excuse me. She has an entry wound right here. And for those of you that are familiar with ballistics and guns and things of that nature, the gunshot was close enough that there are powder burns around the entry wound. She has an entry wound here and an exit wound on the exact opposite side, back side of her head. So, at least presumably, it looks like the bullet went straight through her head, which is not good. But the woman is still alive. So the ER doc looks at her and says, gosh, there's not a whole lot we can do, but let's get this woman to CT, get a look at her head, and see what we've got to work with. So they take her to CT, they CT her head, they get her back in the trauma room. The CT comes back, and the ER doctor reads the CT report. The woman's brain was intact. No damage whatsoever. The woman's skull had not been breached. The bullet had not gone inside of her skull. Yet she has an entry wound and an exit wound. This woman was shot between the eyes. The bullet hit, went under the skin, turned 90 degrees, traveled the curvature of her skull, got to the back of her head, turned 90 degrees again, and came out. This woman got 2 Band-Aids and some Tylenol for a really bad headache. And she walked out of the ER under her own power. This is not a story that I heard. This is not a third-party account. I saw this myself. I don't know what your religious affiliation is, and I don't care because it doesn't matter. But I can tell you firsthand that miracles still do happen in the world today. That woman should have been dead. But for whatever the reason, she wasn't. A bullet turned 90 degrees twice to keep from killing a woman. And I don't know why. But it happened, and I saw it. The world we live in today is scary. And we've all got to believe in something. And I guess the reason I'm sharing this story with you is maybe to give you hope. To let you know that there's something bigger than us that's still in charge. Now, this is not the only story like this I have. I have several that I have seen personally, myself, with my own eyes. Now, if this story is of any interest to you and you would like to know or hear about others, please let me know, and I'll be happy to share them with you. But I just feel like somebody needs this. Somebody needs to hear that there is still hope in this world, regardless of how much gloom and doom we're fed on a daily basis. There's still somebody else in charge. I just wanted to share that with you. And I appreciate you listening. Thank you.